want to move on to something else, and this is Bob Schieffer's comment last night. Senator Obama, your campaign has used words like erratic, out of touch, lie, angry, losing his bearings to describe Senator McCain. Schieffer went on to say, Senator McCain, your commercials have included words like disrespectful, dangerous, dishonorable, he lied, your running mate said he palled around with terrorists. The tenor of this campaign. Now, there have been nasty campaigns before, there have been nasty campaigns in South Carolina. How do you think this is sitting with the voter here?
In South Carolina?
In South Carolina.
You know, the tenor of the campaign to me, as we know, they're in a heated race, and we have, what, 2.5 weeks to go. So, as a result, I think what Senator McCain, and I know what Senator McCain is commercials and infomercials, whatever we want to call them, they're factual, and they bring up issues of concern to his constituents and to possibly those that are undecided about, and I think one, you know, you look at relationships and association and judgment, and I think that's all that Senator McCain is bringing out. So I think what I'm hearing, people are wondering why hadn't it been done sooner, and I think Senator McCain and his camp, you know, have to make the decision, how far do you go with that, and I'll leave it at that.
Is this a particularly nasty campaign or just sort of a run-of-the-mill?
I think the nastiest campaign document I have ever read is the Declaration of Independence against King George III. If you want to hear some bad, read some bad stuff, read that. Nobody likes negative campaigning, but it works. I will try to do this very briefly. This guy did a lot of research about negative campaigning, number of focus groups. Then started asking the people in the focus group what they knew about individual candidates. And you know what they did? They peddled back to the moderator all of the negative campaign stuff that they had heard on television. It works. It's unfortunate, but it does. I had hoped that this campaign would have been less associated with negative campaign. It's not. I will only suggest this, and I don't really mean this to be a partisan comment, but given the relative strength of the two candidates now, I think to the extent to which Senator McCain continues to go negative, it's going to hurt him rather than help him, unless he finds something that really has points something more than Bill Ayers or something like that.
Do you agree with that?
I don't work. I'm not his campaign manager, and I think they're looking at it and seeing, you know, if it hasn't been answered, and I don't think it has. It wasn't answered last night. A couple of things about judgment. So I don't think it will. I really don't. I think he's talking enough about judgment. He's talking enough about the economy and things that he's going to do. So, and I think the voters will decide on November 4th.
Some of the criticism has been about comments that Governor Palin has made. She has gotten a good bit more attention than Joe Biden has, needless to say. And I'm wondering now that the surprise is past in Palin's selection, which to some degree reminds me of George Bush Sr. picking Dan Quayle as not having prepared the nation very well for the choice. Are we past all that? Does the vice presidential candidate matter a whole lot more at this point, 2, 3, 4 weeks after the selection?
In past elections cycle, it really hadn't mattered. They kind of, you know, gone to the background and let the presidential nominee do most of the heavy lifting. But in this race, I think it's the media. I think that the horrible, horrendous things that they've said about her, and you know, they are the ones that's keeping the focus on Governor Palin. I think everything that she said is absolutely correct. It's factual. It may not be what some want to hear or want coming out, but it's the truth. I don't think she said anything. I've listened to some of her speeches that are not factual.
Vice presidential candidates matter much at this stage?
Nobody votes for the vice president. Nobody votes for the vice president. The only vice presidential selection that I can name for you in the history of the United States that made any difference was when Jack Kennedy chose Lyndon Johnson in 1960. Dean DeValor has already mentioned Dan Quayle. Walter Mondale picked Geraldine Ferrara, which turned out not to be a good pick. He was going to lose, and he lost. Nobody votes for vice president.
Let me ask you about trade. It was very important